and show my art anytime.
Hey, welcome to the Rick and Dave Comic Book Hour. I'm Rick.
I'm Dave. And this issue we're going to talk about what's going on in Amazing Spider-Man. So we're going to start off with, well, most everything we're going to talk about is going to revolve around issue 700 of Spider-Man here. So, well, Rick, what do you think?
Well, it was, it started in 698, something like that, or 697. Anyway, it started and it ended in 700, where Doc Ock eventually takes over Peter's body, and they do a freaky 13 type of deal. And at the end, Peter Parker dies. Now, this is, it's not a bad storyline. I like it. The art wasn't the best, but so 700, and it was an interesting issue. As for a storyline, I liked it, and so I like the storyline. What I'm trying to say, I like the storyline, but for it to be enough to do a relaunch, no.
Yeah.
Now is Superior is Superior Spider-Man also going to be published 3 times a month, like the Amazing?
That I don't know.
You don't know?
I don't know.
Because if you're doing 3 times a month with the Amazing Spider-Man,
Well, Amazing Spider-Man has been twice a month for last year or so.
oh, twice a month.
Yeah, it was 3 times a month before that, but now
it's twice.
It has been twice for a while, and so I'm not sure what the schedule
Well,
is.
even
on
at
the
twice a month, you could do this Freaky Friday thing for 3 months. You get a good story arc out of it before having this big issue where they switch back somehow. But as doing a relaunch thing, no, because my opinion, Dave, is that when Parker comes back, they're going to do another relaunch.
Yeah, if they do, they might as well start with Amazing Spider-Man 701, but
they screwed this numbering up. So I mean,
Yeah.
how many times has Spider-Man been relaunched?
yeah, a couple times. So yeah, anyway. Yeah, I hate the renumbering thing, Marvel. It just screws everything up. But anyway.
But that's true. But it's the same thing across the whole Marvel Now thing. I mean, everybody, oh, Marvel Now, but it's just a continuation from
Yeah, it's not
the
like
last issue.
Yeah, it's not like they're reshifting the universe like DC's tried to do.
And they're not all relaunching at the same time either. I mean, there was no big relaunch month like DC had.
Yeah, it wasn't like, everything happened in December or whatever. It's still happening, so they're dragging this promotional thing out for a while, apparently.
Yeah. So, what were your thoughts on 700?
Well, after I got done reading it, I remember sending you a text saying, I didn't know what to think, and you said, hold that thought. And I've been thinking about it, and I'm like, I don't know. I thought it was kind of like, because Peter came like this close from actually fixing it.
Right.
And then they didn't let him fix it. And so they kind of did this thing where his spirit's kind of still there, but Doc Ock is kind of still the dominant personality right now, which I think they've done probably similar storylines in other comic books where you have these dual personality things.
Exactly.
So, I mean, I even read an article in the Plain Dealer from a guy who basically tells you what's going to happen by the end of the year, so you can see that eventually Peter's going to come back, obviously, and exactly what happens to Doc Ock, whether he gets a new body or he actually ends up dying finally, I don't know, but we'll see. But I just kind of like I'm like, what the hell? So I was kind of really disappointed at the ending, and I read it twice now, just to make sure I was still in the same frame of mind, but I guess they're trying something new, which I guess they haven't really done anything like this that I can think of. I'm sure they have used a similar storyline before where a villain becomes a hero, because Doc Ock is really evil. I mean, he's more the ultimate Spider-Man villain than even the Green Goblin.
Right.
And the guy's really just screwed up. And I don't care how much goodness that Peter Parker has invested with his
evilness,
meddled with his,
right.
I think it's only going to last for so long. And Maybe
Well,
maybe they'll play it out through the rest of this year. I don't know in the story in the book or how long they'll take to do it. But
no, Yana build up to 700. I like to
Yeah.
see where this was going.
Mhm.
And like I said, I don't mind the storyline. I just don't like the relaunch idea. I don't think it. Why relaunch it? I mean, it's start at 701 and just take it
keep on
forward.
going, yeah.
But it's just a marketing gimmick, and everybody's buying into it, and including us, because we bought Superior
Well,
Spider-Man.
yeah, we're going to
one.
buy it anyway, but
We're
you
going to
know,
buy it anyway because we're Spider-Man fans, as you
but
can tell
as you
with
can
our
see,
shirt.
yeah, I mean, geek Spidey hears or what. You know.
But because still. But anyway, what do you think about how they portrayed Mary Jane? She wasn't too bad in 700 or Superior, where she acted kind of goofy. You know, when he showed her the Superman, the Spider-Man costume.
Oh yeah, like she was shocked, and I'm like, why would she even be shocked about that?
Yeah,
Which, which Otto Octavius' response was like, "What's the surprise here?" And I didn't quite get that.
Yeah, I didn't understand
But
that either.
because
Was she having a blonde moment?
yeah, so I mean, now that takes us all the way back to I'm going to bring up issue 545 of Amazing Spider-Man, which is the issue where they make the deal with Mephisto, the devil of the Marvel Universe.
Exactly.
And I reread that pretty much this morning, and just to make sure I remembered everything correctly. And so there's some sort of deal where, Mary Jane and Peter were all married and happy and had this ultimate love thing going on. But they decided, I guess basically Peter made the ultimate decision to save Aunt May's life, which they ought to let the old lady go. But then Mephisto, being the evil devil that he is, taunts him and shows him, well, this would have been your daughter and all this other stuff. But there's one panel in there where Mary Jane goes up and whispers to Mephisto something that you can't hear or even read because they didn't even really print it. I looked with my magnifying glass to make sure. But it shows them where she makes some sort of deal with Mephisto right here, but we never know what that is. So what kind of deal she made with the devil, I don't know. I don't think they've ever actually went ahead and played the storyline all the way through yet, as far as I can tell.
I don't think so either. And are they even going to acknowledge this in this run here? I mean, or Marvel have they decided to ignore it? Because, if they have this deal, Mephisto should come back and confront Doc Parker that, hey, what's going on, dude?
Yeah, because the deal was made with Peter and Mary Jane, and although
do they still remember the deal? I can't remember.
Yeah, well, see, the thing is, they're supposed to forget their previous life. I guess they.
But do they remember the deal they made with Mephisto?
Well, I don't know if they. I think Mary Jane might, but I don't think Peter does. Just from reading issues between 545 to 700, there's always little hints here and there that I think, she always knew Peter was Spider-Man and didn't have a problem with it.
So she knows the consequences of them starting this dating process and stuff.
Yeah, so, because I think ultimately she knows that their love is so strong that no matter what kind of deal she made, they'll eventually come back around. Which is kind of cool. But
so it'll be interesting if they acknowledge that, because that might even be a catalyst of getting Parker back into Doc Ock's body if Mephisto finds out that Peter's not even in that body.
Yeah, that'd be an interesting way of doing that, to get it back.
Because they made that was a big storyline.
Yeah, this was
Just
this
to
is a big
ignore it.
storyline, and that they've done all this. Update.
They went to a lot of pains to make them not married anymore because they thought they'd be better, because they thought that everybody would,
storylines would be better that way or something.
and that the fans would be more accepting of the single Peter Parker. They didn't think the younger guys would go, well, we don't want to marry Peter Parker. They want him out there partying, but he's not even doing that. He's not like he's a playboy like Bruce Wayne or Tony Stark.
Yeah, but it has kept the word as far as Peter's more happy in one degree. He's more successful.
That's true.
He's a top scientist now, he's one of the top Avengers. He's, you know, very successful as opposed to, you know, and he still has this bumbling, you know, everyday crap that goes on with everybody, which I'm glad they still keep that in the book.
Right.
But
Well,
so
that's
he's
his,
not
that's
like,
his foundation.
yeah, and you know, still keeping him human, but he's also, you know, got a nice apartment, and they finally moved Aunt May out of New York for I think she might be coming back, but at least they moved her out for quite a while. And
But I'm glad
Get
you
her
brought
out.
that up because, you know, that's a big part of it. I mean, if Marvel uses that as a catalyst and brings Mephisto into it a little bit, that could be pretty interesting. I mean, if they handle it right and have this done right, it could be, it could really work.
yeah, so I like to see the stories because this seems like a key issue here to me, as far as, you know, big decision, you know, them breaking up like that after they've had 20 some years of issues of them being married and going through all that stuff, and then just you know, cut it off and go. So hopefully they do this up right, because the whole mind meld thing here with Doc Ock and Peter, I think is, you know, Peter's gonna eventually win out because good always evil triumphs over evil, or at least it should in the comic
So
books.
they're going to do they have an issue, search for Parker, like in Star Trek, search for Cock, search for
Yeah, they're gonna
Parker.
shoot his body on some planet. Bugs are gonna come out. Yeah, whatever.
But another thing
Anyway.
is Mary Jane going to figure out the difference? Because she's wondering why
Yeah.
he's acting a little strange, and she's trying. I don't know. Will
Yeah,
she
I mean, he's
eventually
using-
figure it out that he's
yeah.
not exactly. It's not exactly Peter Parker running around the neck.
Yeah, and he's using different words and acting different, and I'm
Yeah.
sure she'll figure it out. But so I mean, it's cool, but I don't know if I'm real thrilled about how they went about it all. But you're right, the storyline, the way they build it up. I mean, they've been working on this for the last 100 issues. You know, setting this whole thing up. So, and it's finally come up to Doc Ock, you know, in a big confrontation and where
Mhm.
he's, you know, almost he finally won in a sense.
Yeah.
I mean, after all this time of getting his ass kicked, he's finally, in a sense, won. But
So that brings us to Superior Spider-Man as well. So what do you think about Doc Ock trying to be the Spider-Man that Parker wasn't? I mean, now instead of using Parker's spider powers for evil, he's going to try and do some good.
yeah, since the spirit of Peter has influenced him so much to be a good guy, hopefully, and after reading the issue, yeah, I think it's going to be different. I mean, that's going to also tip off to a lot of, I think, like Mary Jane and maybe Johnny Storm and some of his closer friends, that this ain't the same Spider-Man, obviously, because he's a little bit more violent and more aggressive, and actually he's a little bit, he is smarter in the sense that he upgraded some of Peter's costume and
Yeah, he
everything
did.
from just simple, from the lenses to the claws to
Yeah.
nano spiders and stuff like that. So he kind of totally
It-
set up the Sinister Six in this thing and
Yeah.
kicked her butt with no problem. You know, it took a little planning, but you know,
It'll be interesting to see how much. It'll be interesting to see how much of that stuff that Peters keeps. All this tech that Doc Ock, how much he keeps himself
Yeah.
when he comes back. That'll be interesting.
Mhm.
And yeah, there's going to be a different. I know that everybody likes these darker heroes nowadays, but Spider-Man is not the darker hero. So Peter Parker has to come back to save the day. I mean, there's just
Yeah.
so much. You know, Peter Parker is the hero. He's the one that saves the girl, and doesn't exactly have to kill everybody. So
Yeah, that's just-
this isn't the Punisher or anything like that. So.
Yeah. So I mean, he's had his dark issues where, you know, he's on the Back in Black storyline
Yeah.
and Venom trying to take him, or the Venom costume trying to take him over way back when he first appeared and all that sort of thing. But you know, so they've done storylines like that. But ultimately, Spider-Man is, Peter Parker is the ultimate good guy. I mean, he's even more of a good guy than Superman, I think, as far as,
Yeah.
you know, doing the right thing and all that kind of stuff, or doing his best to do the right thing.
Yeah.
Whether he screws up along the way, it always eventually works out. But
So I think I'm gonna grade this two ways. I'm gonna say storyline, I'm gonna give it about 7.5, maybe an 8. Relaunch, 0. And that's how I'm gonna grade that. Because I don't think it, but, as far as, Superior Spider-Man, I mean, what does that actually mean? I mean,
yeah.
Yeah, like you said, Doc Ock upgraded his stuff. Does that make Doc Ock the superior Spider-Man, or just
That's what I think Doc Ock thinks he's going to be. He's going to be
superior?
the.
Well, he wants to be the superior Spider-Man.
So he still's got that villainy
Yeah.
thing floating around in the back of his head there. So he wants to be, better than his.
Do you think his ego might sometime want him to reveal that that Doc Ock is Spider-Man, so he gets the credit he wants to be the superior Spider-Man?
Yeah, because they even had that conflict in Superior Spider-Man where he's talking about all this stuff he's inventing and coming up with is going to be credited to Peter Parker, not Dr. Octopus.
Exactly.
So I think that's ultimately going to come back and bite him because he just can't stand that thought of
Parker
even though he's Peter Parker in a sense, he's still not. And I think that's going to eat at him and drive him insane or drive him out of Parker's body, and so Peter can come back and take over.
I think it's safe to say, for better or worse, I think we're going to be along for the ride, and we'll let our thoughts, like they matter, as we go along with these issues.
It's just our opinions, but hey, as you can see, we're Spider-Man geeks, and we take this seriously. All right.
So how do you rate the issues?
I think I'll agree with you on the 7-8 thing and 0 on the relaunch crap. So I'm totally why they keep renumbering everything just pisses me off. But But anyway, but we're still going to get the books that we like and on the characters we like. So despite Marvel's stupid attempts at renumbering and trying to remarket everything, I don't know. But anyway, that's his business, I suppose. But as far as the storyline,
it'd be just like with the New 52, the number 1 sold like crazy, but ever since then you see everything flatlining and things being canceled. And we're going to see the same thing with the Marvel now. The number 1s are going to sell, but after that they're going to dip, and who knows who's going to survive. Yeah. So it's just another gimmick that's going to.
And they'll do all these Marvel Now number 1s and relaunches and whatnot, whatever you want to call them. And 6 months from now or 8 months from now, you'll see only about half of them, if that, actually pan out for the long run on good story and good art and all that stuff. Other than just come up with a bunch of.
Well, anyway, that's our take on Amazing Spider-Man 700, Superior Spider-Man number 1.
No, it's Superior Spider-Man.
Where is it?
Thank you.
Go ahead and do it. Here it is.
Yes, Superior Spider-Man. So
I have to give him. That is the classic Spider-Man pose. He's for that cover. That's one of the more classic poses that he has for that cover.
So anyway,
that's our take, and thanks for watching.
Yeah, thanks for listening. Hope you enjoyed it, and for what it's worth, see you next time.